So, Anne, we're now 2 years on with our training with Resolution Together, One Couple, One Lawyer. And I don't know about you, but my experience has been incredibly positive in terms of helping clients in another way, another process and method for non-court dispute resolution available to our clients when they come to see us. And the concept of us being able to actually see a couple together and help them, albeit under regulation, but being able to give advice and help them to consider their outcome with advice, with clear advice and parameters of how that might look. Certainly in my work has been a very positive experience.
I agree wholeheartedly, and I think that the reason it was introduced, or at least the training was introduced for resolution practitioners to undertake this kind of work, was because it was being offered by non-regulated firms. And of course, you and I both know, Sarah, that during our careers, we've had couples that are in a place that is amicable and they know what they want to do, but because of the conflict element that has been dealt with properly within Resolution Together, we were unable to help them. Historically, it was always you can only see one of a couple. So it's a very nice way to work. And I think that's, Resolution decided that we need to regulate it. We need to have our members offering this as another arm to all the dispute resolution processes.
I agree. I mean, I think that, throughout my career, there have been many occasions when people have inquired about advice and have simply not been able to understand why one lawyer can't help both.
Yes.
And provided the right safeguards are in place, provided it's the right type of case, I appreciate it doesn't work for everybody, but provided it is the right type of case, it can be a very, very good and effective outcome for a couple. So thinking about the process itself and the differences between that and the traditional model. I mean, obviously, if we see one client and another lawyer is involved helping the other spouse or partner, I will traditionally just, discuss with them, find out from their perspective what's going on for them, understand what the issues are, understand the position regarding the family generally, and focus on them, and so will the other lawyer. And of course, the difference and the beauty of Resolution Together is that we started off immediately having met, albeit individually, we meet each of the couple. We make sure that they are well looked after from the point of view of creating a safe space. So we deal with any safeguarding issues, understand what the dynamic of the relationship has been, but we get two sides of the story, and we're able to approach it in a much more neutral and constructive way. And of course, it's much quicker, isn't it?
I was about to say that. So the worst case scenario, I think, for you and I is court proceedings, be it for children or money, because it's very protracted, it's very expensive, and it's high conflict. And that has a huge impact on the people involved. So as you say, with the screening, and it takes the right couple, that they are on the same page. And as we explain to them, they may have disagreements about certain things, but that doesn't necessarily create a conflict. And I think the people that the clients that approach this with a view to wanting to use this process, they are aligned in the main. The ones that we've seen, they are aligned, and they understand that all the different ways they can achieve a financial settlement, say, or arrangements for the children. If they are thinking along the same lines, this is very much the service for them.
I agree, and I it's a very common theme where clients will come to us and basically say, I don't want to go to court, I just want what's fair. Now, of course, two people will have very different perceptions of fairness, but what we can do in Resolution Together is talk about those parameters and the boundaries of what a court or the law considers to be a fair outcome. And then, that just helps steer that path of perhaps realigning or just trying to encourage that compromise in terms of perceptions of fairness.
And I don't know about your experience, but mine has been quite often that the couple that come to see me, they previously had individual lawyers, and the situation was inflamed to such a degree with two firms of aggressive lawyers trying to battle it out that they were in this terrible position, and they started off by being more or less agreed, and they'd been driven apart by these two contesting lawyers. So they're quite pleased to then find a lawyer that can help the two of them and wind back all that aggression, and particularly where there's children involved, little children, and they'll be co-parenting for years and years. You don't want all that anger and unhappiness and stress, all the rest of it, which we can help with.
I think that one of the strong benefits, is that they hear the information from one source.
Yes.
So, and they hear it in an unambiguous, clear way that explains it, so that they are under no illusion of having different advice, or there's no sort of competing sets of advice for them. They just hear it from the same source. And of course, the communication as well is very neutral. The way that things are described and explained is dealt with in a neutral manner. And that comes, of course, from our mediation training and our collaborative skill sets.
Absolutely.
So again, I think that just minimises for them any risk of significant conflict.
Exactly that, because if a couple goes to two separate lawyers in the traditional way, that individual lawyer, much as we do, will be acting in the best interest of that person. And we hear, as you say, one side of the story, and the other party to the marriage will go and get their own advice traditionally, and then you've got this competition. And the person that's received my lawyer is better than your lawyer, so they know that all of that is removed. And so from a starting point, if they're starting from having the same legal advice, and I said this to you before, Sarah, it's almost like when you're practicing this form of service, it's like mediation, enhanced mediation, isn't it? So mediation, of course, is neutral, and you are a neutral party and you're not giving advice. But this is very similar, that you are able to give advice.
You can grasp the nettle, can't you? And be clear with
yes, you can.
As to the parameters. And I think that's so important, because it also enables you to manage expectations with clients in the same room at the same time.
Exactly. So the ones that I've done have resulted in, under this process, we can draft the legal documentation, we can file it with the court, and we record on that court order that the couple has been through this process. So a judge reviewing that paperwork knows that they have been aligned from the word go, and it's resulted in a court order. Not a court order after 2 years of wrangling in the court, but a paper documentation which requires nobody to go to court. And yes, of course, they're highly delighted, because it's dealt with very speedily.
Yeah.
And with all these dispute resolution processes, you're not bound by when the court says you have to go, with all the other things in your life, such as work and children and everything else. They decide when they're going to come and see us when it's convenient to them. And so they really are in control of the process, and the timing is so much better. So the feedback I've had is very positive. Because any decision, we always say this, don't we, where you are fully involved, the clients are fully involved, they've had full input into those decisions. They haven't had a judge telling them what they're going to do with their money, which, And so the agreements that where the couple have so much personal input, they last, and there's not ongoing conflict. Because if you go to court and a judge tells you what you're going to do and you don't like it, then it's a bit difficult to live with, isn't it?
It is, and I think the feedback that I've experienced is that actually both of them feel supported equally, and they recognise that with the trust in the relationship, the professional relationship, that you are there to try and help them both. That it's not a case of taking sides or doing anything other than try to move it forward positively. And so from that perspective, I think couples do feel very supported.
Yes, they do.
So again, one of the huge benefits of an approach like Resolution Together is that it can be absolutely as quick or as slow as they need it to be. It can actually be a very, not fast, but it can be a very, sensible time frame in which things can get resolved. And actually the timing of it is down to both of them.
It is.
And so from that perspective, they're not waiting for court dates or protracted, expert information. We can get on and we can progress as much as we can progress. They have to help too in terms of the information that they provide, but we can really keep that going at a pace that suits them.
Absolutely.
And I think again, that reinforces the fact that it's a very positive and bespoke service for a couple.
And with the traditional court process, it gives such a high level of anxiety and stress for the clients when they're waiting for a court date. And then the court date is often months in advance. And there's this massive build-up, this psychological build-up, which is a horrible thing to have to live through. Whereas, as you've described, they have full input. It's when it suits them and if they want it done speedily. And of course, the clients that come to see us that are interested in this process, they've done a lot of thinking and discussions between themselves beforehand. So they are fairly aligned and there may be just one or two things to resolve. And as you've probably seen, Sarah, we have referrals from mediation where the couple have attended mediation, but it's the legal documentation that needs to be drawn up. So they are agreed and we then have discussions with them just to fine tune an order. And that's quite a popular use of the process, I think.
Yes. So my observations during my meetings on resolution together, because we are focused on the meetings and the correspondence that we send afterwards, the letters that we write to our clients, we write to them the same letter together, it does definitely cut out any more inflamed communication. It's neutral. I think that in itself really impacts positively on the way that this process works and their journey through separation. I think it's a very, very positive thing for them to see and experience because we are presenting everything in such a neutral light. And I think from that perspective, it's got to help the process move forward. And I think they do then just feel, trusted and supported, really.
I can reflect on one case that I was dealing with where it wasn't disagreed that spousal maintenance should be paid. It was just how much should be paid. And it was a very pleasant conversation with this couple when the reasons that it was the wrong amount were discussed in a very comfortable, non-excitable fashion. And then everybody understood with the maths as well why that sum wouldn't work. And it was agreed very easily, very easily. And if you compare that to, for example, if a couple can't agree on some interim maintenance, what that results in, an emergency application for a maintenance pending suit hearing, an awful lot of work, going to court at very short notice, instructing barristers, huge expense. The two compared couldn't be more different to get a resolution that they were both happy with, because of course, if it's an application to the court, one person isn't going to be happy. So a good example of how it worked very well. If there are children involved, then any process following a divorce, if there is a financial resolution to sort out and arrangements for the children, anything that removes anxiety, stress, conflict is a good thing, because often there are quite small children. And that couple have to co-parent well beyond any processes to sort out their money. And if that very process, such as court for money, causes such conflict, then you're really wrecking their future co-parenting relationship. And all of those decisions about the children can be part and parcel of the process itself. So I'm sure the clients that have been through it would agree that they leave the divorce, they've sorted their finances, they've sorted the arrangements for the children, and they're still in a fairly good place to co-parent going forward.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's my experience as well. And of course, we can deal with any immediate issues around the table straight away. So things that may well have otherwise caused some conflict, perhaps because of the way that they would communicate with each other at home, or they couldn't communicate, or, we're able to try and facilitate that and help with that conversation. So when they leave the meetings and a stage of this process, they will be able to have a plan in place as to how they're going to address or tackle a situation regarding the children. And again, I think that is all to the good in terms of communication moving forward.
If those early meetings, they understand how they can manage it, if they're given help managing it, that's a learned thing that they just carry on going forward. All to the good.
So it's an absolutely fundamental aspect of the resolution together, one couple, one lawyer model, that they are paying for one lawyer as opposed to two.
Yeah.
And in family, the cost of, if you were in the traditional sense dealing with court process or even just negotiating between solicitors, you double the expense because both lawyers have to be paid, and the rules are that it just has to come out of the pot. Each bears their own costs. So if you have a situation where you've got one lawyer helping you, then you are cutting your legal bills by half.
Absolutely.
And with people like ourselves who are really experienced, we're able to also bring much more focus, much more ready focus, because we have a clear view as to how things need to progress, where we are in terms of whether it's financial documentation, transparency, assisting regarding any children issues, all of that, and that is a huge financial benefit, because it's really important that they do everything they can to preserve their finances, to make sure that they can both move forward, and from a reality testing point of view, that they can both afford to move on. So creating a huge hole in that money, in that asset schedule for legal fees, is not helping anyone.
And I'm sure you've seen, Sarah, with other dispute resolution processes where the couple are agreed and then two separate solicitors are drafting the legal documentation. The solicitors start a fight over what should go in that documentation. Whereas if it's just the one lawyer doing it, with the input of the clients, it's a much easier and cheaper process.
So I think from the point of view of our work over the last 2 years, it has massively enhanced our ability to offer a really tailored service to a couple, and bring another dimension to how we can help people get through separation, through their separation journey. So I think reflecting on that, I think it's been a very, very important thing that we've done here at Scott Bailey.
I agree, and I'm proud that we are able to, whatever circumstances a family find themselves in, we can very specifically tailor the best route for them to reach a settlement. I think it's worth mentioning that this process isn't suitable for everybody. And we do have very strict safeguarding in place. You may get one half of a couple very insistent on it. They want to make the appointments for everybody and they want them to be on a specific date. And a few red flags arise then when it's somebody controlling the whole thing. So we're very discerning. We take very good care of considering whether it's right for this process. And if it is right, then it's a fabulous process for them.
I agree. Yeah, so in summary, resolution together, one couple, one lawyer, it's such a sensible and dynamic method process in which to consider how you separate. So if anything we have said today is of interest to you, please do contact myself, Sarah Unsworth, or my colleague Anne Herd, and reach out to us, and we'll do our best to help you here at Scott Bailey.